Just a little background about me. I work for a large book company outside Nashville. I'm a customer care rep, senior, in the process for getting a new career, searching for anyone. And outside of that, I'm a life coach. So basically, what I do is I help young adults who are feeling stuck in life find purpose. And the reason I wanted to get into life coaching and help young adults because I myself was once, you could say I still am, I'm only 33, but a young adult who was stuck. And I understand the pain of feeling stuck and what it feels like to run around in circles trying to figure yourself out. And now that I've made it past that, I want to help that even if they're just a few steps behind me, get to where I'm at because I can relate and
Okay.
I can understand. And that's why I got into life coaching.
How long have you been doing that?
So I've been doing that we're pushing almost a year now. So not even a year, but we're close. And it's been a fun ride. I like to say it's been a fun process. I've learned a lot from the people I've met, whether it's coaches, fellow coaches, mentoring me, or young adults who I've mentored them. It's just a lot of getting out of your comfort zone. It's a whole lot of
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
and just a whole lot of humbling yourself and learning, and realizing that you don't have all the answers. That you're always going to be coachable and teachable, and that comes with growth, really. And I know the topic of the podcast is pleasing people. That's a big thing that we discuss whenever, whether it's with our coaching session, like that, pleasing people, how to get past that hurdle of finding yourself in the midst of pleasing someone and trying not to do that.
I had a lot of experiences where I had a lot of friendships where I would do things for them, like give them money, always be at their whim. And I never got that. I never got that turn. I never got that in return. I always thought that if I give people, the more I give people, the more they will give back to me. But that's obviously the misconception about people because sometimes people don't have things to give. Sometimes they're in a less fortunate situation than you are. And I learned that I can't overdo things for people. I learned that in my friendships and my past relationships that I can't always be that person that they can go to and need help. If I am, if I'm being honest, if I am always that person, then who's going to be that person towards me? And so that's where I had to learn to really just cut a lot of people off that wasn't serving my mental health well and just learn to just more. BJ.
Well, I live in Nashville right now. I've been in Tennessee for a year. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. Lived there for 3 years, but was born and raised in Northern California. So technically, this is my third state, and I'm not moving again. That is exhausting in itself, moving states.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'd say some of my aspirations are to. So, one of my favorite cities to visit is Chattanooga, which isn't too far from Atlanta, just almost by the border. And my aspirations is to live outside of there and build my own house somewhere in. And there's a lot of mountains outside of Chattanooga, so I want to build my own house just outside there. And I want to do that within the next 5 years. And what do I want to do? I want to travel the world, renew my passport, and travel the world, see a lot of different places in the world.
Same here. I really do.
For sure. Let's see. I want to impact more lives, more young adults' lives, and should I say more peers' lives, especially as I get older. I may curtail to more of an audience that's more my age. Like example, if I once I turn 40, I want to help those in their 40s, my peers. So I do have a lot of things I want to accomplish in these next 5 to 10 years, and I'm excited for it. And I'd say the best part of it is the process. So I definitely understand wanting to focus on the prize, but it's really that process that makes this whole thing fun. Without
No.
that,
So before we get into the topic today on VJ of how to please people, could you just tell us a little bit about maybe how you overcame your mental health, what you did to kind of like, What steps did you take to maybe help you? Did you have any therapy? Did you have any friends supporting you? Did you have any, or you just did it, just went on a mental health journey by yourself to kind of feel better in your life mentally? So take us through
Uh,
that, and how
that's a
did you?
great question. So it's a mix of different things. It started with some therapy. I saw a therapist for a period of time. That helped a lot. But it also started with joining a young adults group that was within my age group. And I joined a young adults group while I was in college. And this was when I was at the lowest in terms of struggling to find myself. That was a really low time in my life. And I just
So
needed
was it
to
sponsored through the college, the young adults group? Was it?
no, it's through a church. So I randomly went to this church, and while I was there, I got to meet everybody, and I got invited to join this young adults group. And I was really terrified of joining at first because I've never joined such a group, and you never know what could come out of that when you first go to things like that. And I went to the first meeting, and there, surprisingly, I found a community of people that were really supportive and that could really understand me for who I was and what I was going through. And to me, that was I never thought I would find such a community like that, because going to school and going to public places, it seems a lot of people are just looking at their phones or hang out with certain groups slash tribes of people and are just being superficial. Hard to relate to people. So I thought I could never really mesh with young adults, peers my age. But to find a group like that was definitely a surprise in itself in a great way.
Real quick, I just want to say that what you talked about right there, being able to find people who you relate to is one of the struggles of today's youth and young adults. Speaking from experience, I was in the military for 20 years. And so I've traveled around a lot, and you move to different places, and having to start all over with new friends and people who are like you and think the same way is very hard to find.
Yeah.
It's very hard. And even now, so in the 2020s, where everything is so connected through the phone, social media, you still have connections with those people through those social media, but it's not the same as having somebody physically there, present with you. If you get a flat tire, who can you call to help, right? If you're in a new city, if you lost your card and can't go get food, you have a friend nearby to, hey, I got you real quick. Having those things, or just to go talk to who's right next to you, we're lacking that. And that's why like loneliness and those type of things is really starting to grow, because we're more connected, but also more distant at the same time.
And I could feel that everywhere now. But the thing about a lot of us, especially as men, what we tend to do is we tend to hide that really well. We tend to put on outside mask. Oh, everything's fine. I don't need new friends. I got my career rolling. I got this going. I got that going. And you wouldn't know that somebody's suffering in silence until maybe you encounter a community like we all did online, or maybe once you get to know a certain person, they start to get comfortable with you to where they're sharing their story. And you realize, oh, this person is really struggling, but I couldn't tell.
Yeah,
Couldn't tell.
because a lot of men are struggling. I get so many DMs telling me that they want to X themselves, they struggling with homelessness, stuff like that. And you can't save everybody, but if you can help 2 or 3 people, that goes a long way. Sometimes I do help people, even if I don't think I'm going to get anything in return, because that's just the type of person that I am. I want to help people. I've been through those times where I needed rent and I didn't have money to pay the rent, or about to be homeless, stuff like that, or just low on money. I didn't have a lot of friends back in the day. So who's I going to call on for that stuff? And it is, and to some degree, it is embarrassing to put yourself out like that and ask as a man, because the society norm is to say, oh, man up. You're supposed to have that all figured out.
And family is so disconnected now because people move around. Like you said, you've moved 3 states, right? So for me, I've lived in quite a few states as well. And where I live now in Northern Virginia, I don't have immediate family around me. Or so who do I go to for advice? And as you're growing up as a young adult, who teaches you about financial responsibility and financial literacy and those things like that? In school, they cover it for like one subject, but they don't really go into details and make it applicable to how you're living. And that's what we're lacking, where we have like a materialistic society where you just want to buy things to show that you have some type of status. But at the same time, you're not saving for retirement. You're not saving for when your car breaks down. You're not buying healthy food. You're buying the processed food because that's what's cheaper. And no one's teaching you all these things. And then when you have a struggle, you don't have anybody to go through it with it. And that's where it comes like, well, you should know all this. You're a man. You're 26 years old. How come you don't know this type of thing? No one's teaching you those things.
I wanted to move into the conversation of not being able to please people now here on VJ. So give us some examples of maybe friendships or relationships, whatever you want to share with us about you learn to stop pleasing people in life and take care of you. It's okay to be selfish sometimes. I'm putting it out there.
Talk about that. Really, it's been an ongoing journey of having to learn it on repeat, if that makes sense. Even as an adult, I can still get caught up in the whole thing within regards to pleasing people. And really, I think the big elephant in the room is not trying to make them upset. And I'd say if I could go back and think about one of the first times I was in a situation like that was in middle school. I just simply had to tell a friend no for whatever reason, and I knew it was the right thing to do because I would mostly say yes, even though I didn't want to say yes and go along with it. I did because I didn't want to piss that person off. And then the moment I said no, I ended up pissing that person off, but I felt better in the process of that. And then as I got older and I started going to college and started getting a job and this and that, I've been encountered with so many things that I felt like I got taken advantage of. And little did I realize that I'm being taken advantage of by people who really don't care so much about me, but for some reason I care too much about them, and maybe I should stop doing that.
Yeah, it's that wanting to be connected to something. And how many times in life have we gotten situations where we didn't want to be in, and it wouldn't happen if we just would have said no, right?
And it's like I don't know what it is. There's this, maybe it's their personality, maybe they're a bit cunning, maybe they're a bit cunning, maybe they're a bit charming, and get caught in the nostalgic of it. Oh, I want to help this person. I want to make them happy. I want to help them succeed, and I should just go along with this, only to realize that I've been taking advantage of this whole entire time, and that I'm really disposable. And even with relationships, I remember having to end a relationship that I knew wasn't good for me, but I was terrified of doing that because I knew that it was going to make her upset, and it did. But once it was all over, I felt better. That's what mattered. And even if in the beginning I was upset myself, towards the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? Give myself a shoulder pat. I did the right thing. So that's just a background of pleasing people.
I mean, it's good to even be able to reflect on that, to think back in that moment. Like, this is going to be tough, but this is the best for me going through in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because to get stuck doing something that you don't want to do, or in a happy place just to please someone else, and they're not doing the same thing for you, right? It's like you're sacrificing your happiness to make them happy, but they're not willing to do the same for you. So it's like, what is the point at this point? And I gotta say, it doesn't get easier as you get older to say no. It's still difficult, but you understand that it's what's needed to say no at times, even though as much as you want to be able to help every single person and be there for them and give every single second of every day, you can't, because we also need to live our lives and go for the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
It's important that we look out for ourselves. It's really important. If you don't look out for yourself, then you're not going to be able to you're not going to sustain a happy life. I had a friend where he used to always come ask me, and he thought I was a bank personal ATM. And yeah, it's okay. I'm giving him this money. I'm letting him know that I'm here to support him as much as he can till he gets back on his feet. But then I just noticed he just kept asking me. And at a point, it's just like, oh, so you're just using me now. Well, you think that I'm not an ATM, not a personal ATM. It's down the street. And you have to realize when you're being used, like you said, VJ, that's important. A lot of times people personally let people use them just so they can feel validated about themselves, just so they can be likable. But no, fuck that. That's wrong. It's wrong to be used. It's wrong to not say. It's valid to say that you need help in return. It's valid to say no because when you say no, there's power in no. We don't want we if every time I say yes to you and then I ask you for something and then it's a no, how does that make me feel? What is a
Oh, that's the
what
key
about
right
me?
there. They never want to give it back. If
Yeah.
you're giving it back in some way, shape, or form, then okay. But one thing I started to do, if somebody want to ask for money, I'll teach you how to better be more financially responsible. I can do that because I
That's
have a
a
lot
short
of
way to piss
experience in
them off,
that.
Lenny.
And that will certainly help you much more than me giving you however many $100 you're asking for. Let me help you do this instead, and then you won't need to ask for money in the future. But they don't want to hear that. They just want to say, "Oh, well, I just need this right now." No, 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 we're not doing that because you're going to come right back around again and be like, "Oh, well, this is the last time I promise. I just need to do this thing or pay my bills." But you got a new bag or you got new shoes on.
There's a certain level of self-respect that you got to have for yourself too. You got to say no
Yeah.
because if you don't say no, they're gonna keep using you, and then you so many times after keep being used, then there's resentment, then there's turn to anger, then it might lead to a fight. You know what I mean? You never know; those emotions
Yeah,
build up over time. So it's empowering saying no.
absolutely.
They say money and friendship and money and family just don't mix. They don't mix because it's supposed to be, well, we're family. You're supposed to help me out. I'm not working,
I'm not
sacrificing
obligated
my
to
time to
you.
go to work to pay your bills.
I have a light bill, I have a gas bill, I have a telephone bill, I have bills of my own. No one's gonna sit there and give me money for all that, right?
Right.
So it's power in saying no. That's what we want to stress. If you don't learn to say no for yourself in a lifetime and don't look after you, it's only going to lead to frustration, resentment, and anger, and all those other emotions that you don't want to come out. And we
Yeah,
talked about this in better managing our emotions. If you don't say no, then it's okay to say no. It's okay to do something nice for yourself once in a while. It's okay to not please everybody because you're not going to be able to please everybody in this lifetime anyway. So it's best to say
So
no. And then if you lose a friend, you lose a friendship. They wasn't meant for you anyway.
wasn't really a friend. And then the last thing I'll say on this real quick is that one thing I have learned as I gotten older, not everyone is meant to be in your life forever, right? So some people come in your life for certain moments, certain seasons, as they say, and once that is finished, they will find a way to exit themselves out of your life. Not meaning they came in your life just to borrow money from you, but maybe they came in your life just to help you through a certain phase or help you learn something about yourself or your growth. And then once that's over, the life paths go their separate ways. And I could think of quite a few examples in my head right now that somebody came in my life just for a specific event, helped me through that, and then they exited again. And so I'm grateful for that they were there for that little bit of time to help me through that. And then I do have some friends that I've had for 15, 20 years. And so when you think about it that way, because we all want those close friends and everybody to be around forever. Like, we're gonna be best friends forever, clearly, but it's not supposed to be like that for everybody. So VJ, talk about how you're helping young adults as a life coach.
How I help young adults as a life coach is by sitting down with them and learning their story. That's where I start. I want to know you. I want to get to know you. Who are you? Tell me your story. Where are you right now? Where do you want to go? And figure out a way to get you there. That's what I do in a nutshell. A lot of the time I spend with them is really listening, and I am a great listener, which is why I love doing this because it's a whole lot of listening, letting the person vent and just let it all out. And once I figure out exactly, based on what I've learned about you, I know just what you're going through, and I seem to have figured out just where you want to go. Let's craft a way to get you there. How does that sound? People pleasing has come into the conversation a few times. There's just some people that I work with that they're not confident in themselves. They're dependent on their friends or family or other people to give them some sort of identity. And it's like I was like that. And so I totally stand. And I try to ways to overcome such a thing from experience of my own. I remember when my world revolved around my dad at one point. My dad was my identity. Everything that he believed in, I believed in. Everything that he did in life, I tried to do. And there just came a point. It's like, no, I'm me. I'm VJ. I'm my own person. And that wasn't always easy to accept that you're your own guy. But at the end of the day, you're your own guy. God made you in his image,
Yeah.
and you have your own interests, you have your own hobbies, you have your own opinions, this. And it's like I try to get that into, I try to get my clients to understand that you're your own person. Is don't let your mother or father or sister, brother, friend, cousin, uncle, or anybody that you look up to try to tell you how you should be. You need to figure that out for yourself. And that can take time, especially for some people.
Self development is real.
Self-development.
You have to go through the stages of. In fact, I think what's necessary in life is that you go through all those trials and tribulations, and you go through people stabbing you in the back and mistreating you, so you can learn what you won't tolerate in the next friendship and relationship, or just whatever type of situationship or whatever it is that you're attaining in life. You have to go through those bad times to know what you won't accept from the next person. So
It sucks that it has to happen like that. You just said you have to be stabbed in the back by a friend or a close relative to understand what that feels like so you can avoid that in the future. Because right now, like, I have a teenage daughter and I can give her all the wisdom that I have and all the knowledge and all those things, but it's still not the same as for it to learn herself. And it's tough sometimes. Like, as a parent, you see certain things going down a certain path with friends or with school, and you're like, this isn't going to end well. And you try to tell them, and they don't listen, and then they end up getting hurt. And as a parent, you want to help them with that, but you understand they have to live their own life, and you want to give them enough leeway where they can make those mistakes, but also be able to bounce back, and that it's not too dramatic for them where they go in a downward spiral.
All right, we're coming up on time here, but I do appreciate you for joining us, VJ. And as always, Wayne, thanks for hosting the show with me.
Yeah.
Before we go though, could you just give any men some words of advice? Because a lot of men are struggling right now. They don't know when their next meal might happen. They don't know how they're going to get out of any financial debt, stuff like that. Could you just give them any words of encouragement, VJ? Just let them know that's going to be okay.
Have faith in yourself. Most importantly, just know that all seasons are temporary. And I just want to say I'm sorry for whoever's watching this and is struggling. I'm sorry that you're going through what you're going through. And I myself have been through plenty of down seasons where I've struggled. And so I understand that. I really do. And so I apologize that you're going through that. And I'm just telling you right now, you will get through it. You will overcome this. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in God. And the next thing I want to say is when it comes to pleasing people, keep practice saying no. Make it a practice. Making decisions. We got to work our decision-making muscles by making more decisions, right? And it's the same.
That's true.
Saying no. Just keep saying no. Keep practicing that. And eventually you'll find yourself at a place where you're more at ease. You're more comfortable saying no. And best of all, you're more comfortable with yourself. So I just want to end at that.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. And as always, men, take care of yourself. And we're going to see you again next year.